Hello and welcome to this session. Today we will learn certain things about fluency. Probably I will tell you things that you were not aware about. And we will also be interacting with our participants, asking two of them to demonstrate spontaneous speeches, right? And what I'm going to tell you today will be of great use to you. Why great use to you? Because several of the myths surrounding the idea of fluency will be shattered. Let me adjust my camera a little. Well, that is better. All right, so I start with the presentation. Before that, let me say hello to some of our learned participants. Here we go. Hello, Lekha. How are you? The wonderful Lekha. That charismatic smile, magical smile. Yes, how are you, Lekha? Lekha, unmute yourself and say hello.
Am I audible today?
Yes, now you're audible. Go ahead.
Yes. I'm good, sir. How are you? Your shirt is so bad. I feel very miserable for you. Like you are doing so much. You are taking so much pains for us.
Lekha, as a teacher, it's my duty, right? As a teacher, I have to do things for you. All of you are like so close to me, right? For a teacher almost always has the perspective of a parent. So as a parent, as a teacher, it is my job to ensure that all of you are on the right track. I'm so happy
But
to
you are
see you.
sleeping so much today. It's very
Thank you so much, Lekha, that you understand you understand the nuances, the difficulties that may have to be taken by my team and myself for conducting the classes on days such as these, on which the preparation is not always foolproof. But thank you for understanding. Thank you for your concern. Very sweet of you. All right. Let's say hello to Shivam Shaw. How are you, dear? Shivam.
Hello, sir. I'm
Hello.
doing really good, sir. And what
Good.
about you, sir?
Absolutely fine, Shivam. And how's the Coterie talk going?
It's going really well, sir. We are like enjoying at not missed for a single day. That was our achievement for now. So it's good, sir, and we all enjoy it.
Great to know that, Shivam. And may I compliment you? You are already appearing better. You are sounding better. You are sounding more confident. You're appearing more cheerful. You seem to be in command of the things that you're doing. I'm very happy to see
Thank
you
you,
this way.
sir.
Great, 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 great going. All right. Thank you, Shivam. Okay. Hello, Sneha. How are you?
Hello, sir. I'm fine, sir.
Okay. How is the
What's about
practice?
you?
How is the practice going?
It's going well, sir.
Right. Are you enjoying the Coterie talks?
Yes, very much, sir. And learning lots of things.
Wonderful. And I've received your files. I'll be very shortly giving you specific comments on the performances, right? To each one of you, in fact, not just to Sneha, to each one of you who have sent your files to me, either at a personal level or you have placed it on the group. Doesn't matter how you have sent the file. I'll be giving my specific comments. Great to see you, Sneha. And
Thank you.
rest is all fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Okay. Hello, Seema. How are you? Seema.
Hello, sir. I am fine, sir.
Okay. So, both of us are teachers, right? So
Yes,
we understand each other well, right?
sir.
I can understand how you must be feeling about your students, the concern, the affection, the love. regardless of who you are teaching. You could be teaching even elderly gentlemen and ladies. But regardless of whether you are younger to your students or older, you always have that parental kind of a feeling for them. I'm sure you understand that, right?
Yes, sir. I do have, sir.
I'm
Many people comment on me for this as well, that I am an inherent teacher.
I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are. You have innate skills at teaching, indeed. Thanks for joining us, Seema. So great to see you again.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, Nitesh, hello. How are you?
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I'm fine, sir.
Great. Looking cute as
Yes.
ever.
Thank
Looking
you, sir.
okay. And looking confident also.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Right. So, how's the practice going, Nitesh?
Practice is going well, sir. And we are also doing our pottery talks, and it's also going well. We are really enjoying, and most of the people join the pottery talk at 8 o'clock at 8 p.m. We plan to do in days when there are no classes, and during class, like today, we'll do our pottery talk after the class, most probably.
Okay, great to hear that, Nitesh, that you all are doing things so seriously. Okay, just one more person I'll say hello to, and that person will be Isha. Isha, hello, how are you?
Hello, sir. I am fine. Today I am fine, actual.
Today you are fine. But
Yeah,
what happened yesterday or day before yesterday?
I'm suffering from fever, viral
Oh,
fever.
so you're feeling better now?
Yeah, sir. Today I am feeling better and happy to see you again in class.
I'm also very happy to see you, Isha, and all of your friends here. So, how's your practice going?
Sir, Coterie talk is not going regularly, but I am
Uh,
trying.
no, that's not done, Isha. You are still in the initial stages of the training, and I insist you join the Coterie talk regularly, because Coterie talk will give you tremendous amount of confidence for public speaking, right? When you deal
Yes,
with
sir.
people, when you deal with your juniors or seniors or with colleagues or your neighbors or just acquaintances, if you have good practice of Coterie talk, then you will never have any issues interacting with those people. And a bright girl
Sure,
like
sir.
you, yes, so a bright girl like you, intelligent girl like
Sir,
you, should partake in the
I
Coterie
will
talk.
continue in Coterie talk and my practice also.
Thank you so much, Isha. I'm so pleased to hear that. Okay, now it's time to start with the presentation. One of you will have to tell me after I start the presentation whether you can see it, right? Don't tell me before I start the presentation, because you'll first see the PowerPoint screen. Let me start the presentation and then you tell me whether the screen is completely visible to you. Wait a second. My computer has gotten slow. Can you see the entire screen now? Somebody say yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
sir.
Sir,
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. So as you can see, today we will discuss fluency. We'll try and find out what is fluency. I request each of the participants to kindly mute their microphones. Okay. So fluent, it's a loaded word, right? I'll follow the same technique. I'll read first and then I'll tell you the import of the slide, the import of the content of the slide in question. And you know the reasons. If what I tell you is different from what is there in the slide, regardless of whether what I'm telling you is like expressing what is there on the slide in a different language, you will not be able to concentrate on both the things, because it's human psyche to be reading things that appear before you. So it's better that I read it for you verbatim and then I explain. So fluent is a loaded word when it comes to English. Many people seem to think that being fluent means speaking like a native speaker, but that's not necessarily the case. There are different levels of fluency. And native speakers themselves can be more or less fluent in their first language. So what is fluency basically? There are many ways in which you can explain it or describe it. If you ask me, I'll say fluency is that natural flow, that spontaneity that you achieve when you speak a language. English fluency would obviously mean that you are able to express your ideas with complete clarity without having to struggle. That is fluency. Does fluency mean speaking like native speakers? Well, no, not necessarily. Some native speakers speak good English. Some native speakers speak bad English. Some native speakers speak pathetic English. Just the way if we talk about Indians, some Indians speak great Hindi. Some speak Hindi at an intermediate level, and some speak Hindi in a pathetic way. So the same applies to every language. So the native speakers of English are not always speaking correct English. Okay? So fluency would mean the natural flow, the spontaneous flow. All right. So who is fluent? Kindly mute your mics, my dear friends. Who is fluent? Let's give you a technical answer to this question. So what would it mean to be fluent in English? Technically, fluency refers to a person's ability to use a language effortlessly. This doesn't mean being able to speak the language perfectly. To be fluent, you don't have to know all the grammar and use it flawlessly. You must learn to use the language comfortably in a variety of different situations. So fluent simply means being comfortable with the language. Spontaneously, it's coming to you. Doesn't mean that you're speaking the language correctly. Doesn't mean that your language has to be grammatically correct. Just give me a second, please. Just give me a second, right? So your English doesn't have to be grammatically correct. The sentence constructions don't have to be perfect. You don't have to speak very complicated language. You don't have to use those bombastic words which are not understandable to anyone. You don't have to speak in a manner classical English speakers used to speak. So to be fluent, you just have to be natural. There just has to be a natural rhythm in your speech. That's what fluency is. And you could be speaking incorrect English and still be fluent. You heard me. You could be speaking incorrect English and still be fluent. So fluency for non-native speakers, clear expressional abilities. For non-native English speakers, fluency is about communicating effectively with other people. You may not know every word, but you are considered fluent if you can express your ideas and understand what others are saying. Simply means if you can converse in English with others. What you listen, you understand, and you know how to express your ideas. What if you cannot express your ideas with tremendous clarity? Doesn't matter. You will still have some level of fluency. When you can express your ideas with great command over the language, then it'll be said that your fluency is of a high degree. If you cannot express things with total clarity, then the fluency will be of a lower degree. But you will have some level of fluency for sure. Do not worry if your level of fluency right now is not of a very high level. It doesn't make a difference. Still make an effort to speak. Speaking with lower fluency levels is better than not speaking at all. Repeat, speaking with lesser fluency levels is much better than not speaking in English at all. Another thing, confidently speaking in incorrect English is far better than speaking correct English with lack of confidence. Let me put it in simpler words. Speaking incorrect English with confidence is better than speaking correct English without confidence. Yes, you heard me. If you're speaking incorrect English and speaking confidently, wow, you are fluent, my dear. All right. So, for non-native English speakers, fluency is about communicating effectively with other people. This we have already explained. You have to understand what the other person is saying to you, and you have to express your ideas. Going forward, what fluency will do for you? What is fluency going to achieve for you? Yes, fluency is the power of effective communication. Being fluent in English can open up many opportunities in your personal and professional lives. If you are looking to improve your fluency, there are several things you can do, including practicing the methods given in this book regularly. Well, I had plans of releasing this training program as a book, which I may do someday, but you read this as training program. So let's reread this. If you are looking to improve your fluency, there are several things you can do, including practicing the methods given in this training program regularly, talking to native speakers or expert non-native speakers, and immersing yourself in English as much as possible. With hard work and dedication, you can reach a level of fluency that will allow you to communicate freely and easily with others. Putting it plain and simple, practice spontaneous speech, practice, listen, register and repeat, that is shadowing, and practice coterie talk. To be complemented with the skills of essential grammar that you will be picking up as a part of this training program. That is enough to make you fluent. Enough to make you fluent. So, if you achieve fluency, given the fact that there is some status symbol attached to English, we like it or we don't like it, that's the truth. Your confidence level will go up. And when you speak confidently with the native speakers and probably begin to speak better than the native speakers, you will enjoy a lot of respect. All right, move on. Lack of fluency. If you have lack of fluency, why do you have lack of fluency? That is what we'll try and understand. Most non-native speakers of English are not fluent in the language despite years of English education because the teachers didn't teach them how to speak English fluently. Non-native speakers of English usually learn the grammar and vocabulary of the language, but they are never taught how to put these together to produce fluent speech. Well, yes, English is a part of our curriculum. We read those drab grammar lessons. We read those rather uninteresting stories and then begin to answer questions framed on those stories, on the plots of those stories. But does such kind of education help us become fluent? I don't think so. With all due regards to the educationists of the day, with those who are at the helm of affairs, they're trying hard, but somehow I feel the arrangement of teaching English in non-native English-speaking countries are not working. There's a lot of stress on written English, too little stress on spoken English. We are hardly taught, in fact, we are never taught the techniques that can make you a better speaker. We never have model conversations in the class. We are never told in the non-native English-speaking countries as to how to deal with the daily life situations when we are required to speak in English. So our spoken English doesn't really benefit from the kind of education we receive. One of the primary reasons why we lack fluency. Feel and flow, the essence of speech. Another reason is that they tend to model their English on the patterns of their first language. Who? We're talking about the non-native speakers. Another reason the non-native speakers tend to another reason is the non-native speakers tend to model their English on the patterns of their first language. Such practices make it difficult for them to produce fluent English speech. Right. For example, smoking of cigarettes is smoking of cigarettes. In Hindi, we say cigarette peena, right? Cigarette peena. And if I translate that into English, it'll be, hey, drinking cigarette. Hi, my friend, you're drinking cigarette. The smoke is irritating me. Stop drinking cigarette. And if that person knows English, he or she will look at you and say, drinking English? I didn't dissolve my cigarette in some liquid to drink it. Excuse me, I'm smoking the cigarette. I'm not drinking it. And then in Hindi we may say, ऐसा थोड़ी ना होता है. जो तुम कह रहे हो ऐसा थोड़ी ना होता है. Excuse me, dear viewers, if you don't follow Hindi. I'm just giving an example to my live participants, but there will be plenty of talk on how non-native speakers speak ahead in this presentation and also in the subsequent classes. So don't worry if you're not following what I'm saying right now. So in Hindi we may say, अरे तुम जो कह रहे हो ऐसा थोड़ी ना होता है. Now, let's make a jalebi. It's a sweet in India. Let's make a jalebi of that language and say, what you're saying, this less does not happen. Makes no sense, right? So the syntax of your first language and the syntax of English are not the same. You possibly cannot use those same syntaxes, those same expressional styles to speak in English. As simple as that, right? English differs from their first language. The syntaxes vary. Not being aware of differences between the languages, the non-native learners hardly ever get free and spontaneous with English. For instance, you cannot model your English on French or German or Bengali syntaxes. Every language has a unique feel and flow. As an English learner, you have to strive to sense that feel and flow. So you cannot use the Hindi syntax or the Tamil syntax or the Punjabi syntax or the Marathi syntax or the Gujarati syntax to speak in English. Sorry. Right? The syntaxes vary. English has its own syntax and you have to learn to understand that syntax, which you will if you practice the methods I've taught you. Let's move forward. Spontaneity, subconscious appreciation of the language. Therefore, if you are desirous of speaking English fluently, you need to focus on learning how to put the words and expressions together to make meaningful English sentences. You will subconsciously understand the differences between your first language and English with constant practice. Now, there has to be a subconscious appreciation of the English syntax, and that subconscious appreciation of the language will develop only if you practice and practice hard. Practice these three methods and follow the grammar lessons that I'm going to give you subsequently. Enough to understand English, enough to develop that feel for English. And I tell you one more thing now. You can begin to talk in English beyond your coterie. Yes, you have made a lifelong commitment to your coterie members that you will be talking to one another only in English. But now you can expand your horizons and go beyond the coterie. Within the coterie, of course, you'll be speaking in English, but you can find other partners beyond the coterie. Maybe your seniors, maybe your juniors, maybe your friends, colleagues, siblings, anyone. And begin to talk in English with them as well. Expand the scope of speaking in English. The more you speak in English, the better you get. at the language. So this subconscious appreciation will also follow. Grammar is not all. You have to use grammar instinctively. Instinctive use of grammar is needed. Grammar is important, but it's not everything when it comes to learning English. Grammar often takes a back seat to communication. Fluent speakers of any language use grammar instinctively without thinking about it. For non-native speakers of English, the instincts don't supply the grammar. Now, when we speak in Hindi, if Hindi happens to be our first language, or whatever your first language is, you don't have to think of grammar because there is a subconscious appreciation of the language, subconscious appreciation of the syntax of the language, subconscious appreciation of the essential grammar of the language. So you use grammar instinctively. It just comes to you. Same doesn't happen with English because you are not a native speaker of English. The way we use instinctive grammar in our first language, because English is not our first language, the native speakers of English use grammar instinctively while speaking in English. But can you develop that instinctive quality, instinctive command over English? The answer is, what do you think? Yes or no? Somebody please say. Yes or no? Somebody unmute the mic and tell me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good, good.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
good.
sir.
Good to hear
Yeah.
that. That is music to my ears. Absolutely yes. You can have the same command over English language. You will not be speaking English like the native speakers, my dear friends, because you will be speaking better than the native speakers. That's my promise to you. But you will have to practice, 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 practice. I hope you remember that Mossy is still piecing and piecing and piecing and piecing her chakki. So you will have to be speaking and speaking and speaking and speaking and speaking your chakki of linguistic methods, right? All right. So you will also be having instinctive command over grammar. Instincts, subconscious resources of grammar. Is there a way to address this issue? Which issue? That we don't have instinctive command. We don't use grammar in English instinctively. Is there a way to address this issue? Can a non-native speaker strengthen her instincts to act as a useful grammar source? The answer is yes. All of you just said yes. The answer is yes. How? Simple. By focusing on communication instead of grammar. You can learn to speak English fluently without worrying about making mistakes. I'm not suggesting you ignore grammar. The idea is to put communication first. And when you do that, the sense of grammar will follow. It might take time, but that's how fluency is acquired. You keep practicing, 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 practicing. Right. And the more you practice, the better you get at it. And given the fact that you will also be having lessons on essential English grammar, these three methods coupled with those inputs that you'll get from me in essential English grammar will make you a terrific speaker. A speaker par excellence, right? Okay, so focus on communication more. Focus on grammar less. Less of grammar, more of communication. You heard me. Less of grammar, more of communication practice. That's how you improve. Use of time. Don't invest too much time in grammar. As a non-native English speaker, you might be tempted to invest most of your time and attention in grammar. Such an approach to learning can do more harm than good, making communication difficult and frustrating. Don't invest too much time in grammar. Instead, learn essential grammar, the bits and pieces of grammar that you need to speak English, and practice speaking in English. That's all you need to do. Moving on. Focus on speaking. Don't worry about making mistakes. My teaching experience has shown that it's more important to focus on communication. It is essential to speak as often as possible, make mistakes, and learn from them. Most native English speakers don't understand grammar, but they can still communicate effectively. That's because they are primarily concerned about conveying their thoughts in English and not too bothered about how grammatically correct their speech is. So by focusing on communication, you will be able to use English in real life situations and constantly hone your speaking skills. Same thing. Focus on communication. Grammar is useful, but when you begin to communicate more, grammar, a sense of grammar will build up automatically. And given the fact that you will also be getting inputs on grammar, you will be great speakers. Ineffective methods, avoid them. In what way can a training program in spoken English focus on communication? Certainly not by making the trainees sit around and read from texts to simulate an English conversation. Often we see 2 or more students simulating conversations by reading from texts. Such exercises, you would agree, are incredibly boring, not to mention ineffective. Communication is so much more than that. Often I've seen in English communication classes, they make 2 students stand, they hold their own respective papers, and one reads a particular part of the script, the other responds by reading his or her script, and this way they read from scripts. And sometimes they even do it without scripts. But the impact of such exercises is almost nil. We probably will have some conversational exercises later, but effective conversational exercises. We are already into talking in English. We are doing spontaneous, we are doing shadowing, and we are also doing coterie talk. So we are already talking in English, and I'm encouraging you to expand the scope of English communication beyond the coterie. Do it and see how your English improves rapidly. Essential skills: speak and listen. When we focus on communication, we focus on understanding and being understood. We are trying to connect with others, build relationships, and exchange information. And all of that requires good listening skills and strong speaking skills. Goes without saying, we have already discussed this several times earlier, that you have to be a good listener in order to be a good communicator. Listen well, speak well. Simple formula. Listen well, speak well. Listen well and speak with clarity. What listening and speaking mean? So how do we go about acquiring those skills? Well, first we need to understand what they are. Listening skills include understanding the speaker's intent and following the thread of the conversation, even when it takes unexpected turns. Speaking skills involve spontaneity, clear pronunciation, a reasonable degree of grammatical correctness, and the use of unambiguous expression. So what is listening? We are talking about listening and speaking over here. We'll talk more about listening later. Listening means focusing on what the person you are talking to, the person you are conversing with, is telling you. Focus. Try and grab the import of what he or she is saying to you. Listen well. I cannot stress enough on the importance of listening well. Listen well. Listen well. Listen well. Listen well. Listen well. Right? Very important. And when you are speaking, speak with clarity. Even if you are speaking in incorrect English, well, it is always appreciable if you have a reasonable degree of grammatical correctness in your speech. But even if you are speaking incorrectly, speak that incorrect thing with confidence and with clarity, right? Your purpose is to send across your mind's ideas to the person you are communicating with. Okay, moving on. Socio-linguistic competence, understanding the context. Very important to understand the context. Now, both skills also require, which both skills? Listening and speaking. Also require what we call socio-linguistic competence. which is the ability to take account of the social context in which a conversation takes place. This includes understanding things like who is talking to whom, their relationship, and what they're trying to achieve. For example, say you are in Finland. The English over there is very different from the English that is spoken in Germany, or for that purpose, the kind of English that is spoken in native English-speaking countries such as the Great Britain and the United States of America. So understand the context. Maybe people have a different culture, completely different culture from yours. So if you are speaking, say speaking to Finnish people in English in the context of some religious ceremony that they are performing, it is not equivalent to puja in Sanatan Dharma. It is something different. So you have to understand the context. You probably are attending a Spanish marriage. So if you're not completely clear about the rituals, you may not get the complete context. So when you speak, you will always be in an advantageous situation if you are conversant with the context. So if you are speaking in India, more often than not, the context will be clear to you because you are exposed to this culture. When you go to a native English-speaking country, the culture will be different, but very soon you will get to understand it. So do not say anything that may run contrary to the context of the talk. So speak less, listen more, and when you speak, speak substance. Again, a simple formula. Developing skills, you can do it. The socio-economic context helps us communicate effectively with others. So don't despair if your speaking or listening skills aren't quite up to par. With a bit of hard work and practice, you can develop the skills you need to connect with others and share your thoughts and ideas. I think we have spoken enough about it, and what is written is self-explanatory, needs no further explication on my part. Correct and incorrect English, very important. This part of the presentation is very important. Removing mental blocks. You might feel ashamed of speaking in incorrect English, right? Don't be. Everybody speaks in incorrect English. Most of us do, even the native speakers. In fact, native speakers make the most horrendous mistakes. You don't believe me? Soon you will know. The learners do not get fluent in English because the traditional English teaching methods tend to convey this message that fluency means speaking correct English. Let's face it, there is nothing such as correct English or incorrect English. There is just no absolute way of speaking in English. Like every other language, English evolves with time. What is generally considered correct in English today may not be deemed valid tomorrow. Right? There is actually nothing such as correct English or incorrect English. English spoken at a particular time in a particular era may be correct in the context of that era, for that era. But that is not the absolute form of English. English can be spoken in many different ways. The same sentence can be spoken in infinite ways. The same ideas can be conveyed in infinite ways. Some ways could be correct, some ways could be incorrect, but both the correct and the incorrect ways of expression will have to be respected, because your idea is to communicate your thoughts to the other. That's what you're trying to do. English education often tends to tell us, hey, you have to use the correct English, okay? You must speak correct English. You must write correct English. What is correct English? There is nothing such as correct English. Okay, you don't believe me. Maybe you'll have to see the next part of the presentation. There. Typewriter, a man or a machine. For instance, in the early 20th century, the word typewriter would mean a person who types on a typing machine. These days, we don't call one who types on a machine a typewriter. We rather call such a person a typist and the machine a typewriter. When I say typewriter, you will imagine a machine. You will not imagine a human being. But in the early 20th century, girls and boys who used to type on that machine we call typewriter today used to be called typewriters. So a sentence such as Lekha is a typewriter, Nitesh is a typewriter, Pranjal is a typewriter would all be accepted as correct sentences in the early 20th century. But now if I say Seema is a typewriter, people will laugh at me. Come on, Biswajit, what are you saying? Seema is a girl. Seema is not a typewriter. Maybe she types on the machine. You can at the most say that Seema is a typist. Why on earth are you saying Seema is a typewriter? For goodness sake, Seema is not a machine. She's a girl. Excuse me. So that is the kind of flack my statement will invite, right? Because Seema is a girl and probably a typist. She is not a typewriter. But if Seema were born in the early 20th century, and I were also born in that same age, and you all also were born in that same age, I could have easily said Seema is a typewriter. And none of you could have protested because that was the usage in those days. So the idea is to tell you that English is constantly evolving. It is constantly evolving, changing, transmuting itself, transforming itself, altering itself. The form of English is never the same. So what is right today may be wrong tomorrow. What is incorrect today may be correct tomorrow. So there is no correct or incorrect form of English. Get it? A language evolves at all times, no one right way. So a sentence like Lucy is a typewriter would be correct in the early 1900s. But now it will sound funny to most people. Similarly, a few decades ago, the word gay would mean happy. Right. Now the expression usually refers to someone who is homosexual. If I say something like, say, Amar is a gay. If I say Amar is gay, what will you think right now? You will not think Amar is happy because the word gay means happy. In so many poems, in so many stories, the word gay has been used, expression gay has been used, which means happy. For goodness sake, happy. The modern usage is somebody who is homosexual, right? So the expressions change, the meanings change. So therefore, the sentence Tom is gay would mean Tom is happy several decades ago. But the sentence will have a different connotation in the present-day world. Likewise, several such words and expressions and their usages in English keep changing with time. Hence, one must realize that there is no one right way of speaking in English. Going ahead, conventions, acceptable patterns. Certain conventions and rules do exist that many people believe make English understandable. Obviously, children are playing is more acceptable than children's are playing. You say children are playing or you say children's are playing, both will convey the meaning. But yes, probably, not probably, surely, children are playing sounds better than children's are playing. It is not the correctness only that matters, it's also how musical your language sounds, how musical your language feels. Doesn't matter. Even if you say children's are playing, I won't say that you are committing any sin. In fact, it's completely acceptable. Speak in incorrect English. It's your birthright to speak in incorrect English. Okay. The second sentence doesn't ring well in the ears of most Anglophones, right? Anglophone? Somebody who's used to listening to the correct forms of English, or what you may call the acceptable forms of English, or those who are very particular about how English is being spoken. Just in case you are wondering who is an Anglophone, it is somebody who speaks English as his first language, right? But the second sentence is perfectly understandable. So despite its incorrectness, it is not incorrect in a way that will impede communication. So it is better to say children's are playing instead of not speaking English at all. Speak incorrect English, no problem. Remember what I said? Speaking incorrect English with confidence is far better than speaking correct English with lack of confidence. Speak English with confidence. Doesn't matter, you're making mistakes, doesn't matter. You don't care about making mistakes in Hindi, Punjabi, Malayalam, Tamil, Marathi, Bangla, for goodness sake. Why bother about making mistakes in English? Make mistakes. Follow or break your choice. What I'm driving at is simple. Rules and conventions exist, but if you are not comfortable with some of these rules or do not find them practical for use in your specific context, go ahead and break them, which practically means speak in incorrect English. Doesn't matter. You can break the conventions, right? You can break the conventions. Go ahead and speak. That's what matters most. Who's to judge? Make mistakes without fear. After all, who's to judge? As long as you can connect your message across, as long as you can get your message across convincingly without causing any confusion, who cares how correct your English is? Right? You could be saying something, the cars is running on road. The cars is running on road. Instead of saying the cars are plying on the road or the cars are moving on the road. Or you could even say the cars is walking on the road. The meaning is clear. Even if you speak English of that kind, English of that level, still speak in English. Make mistakes, no problem, but speak in English. So nobody cares whether your English is correct or not. Those who keep thinking whether you have spoken an English sentence correctly or not are inconsequential. Forget about them. Okay? So don't be afraid to make mistakes. I would venture to say speaking incorrect English is your birthright. In the end, communicating effectively in English is what matters. Now, effective speaking, it is not about knowing rules. When you want to speak effectively, it is not about the rules. Then what? So let's get this into our heads. Fluency in the English language does not necessarily mean you are using all of the correct grammar and expressions. Fluency is about communicating effectively, not about knowing all the rules. If you can express yourself with reasonable clarity and understand what others are saying to you, then you are considered to be fluent in English, even if your grammar is not 100% accurate, which means if you can understand what the speaker is saying and you can convey your thoughts, even if you are conveying your thoughts in a form of English which is not completely acceptable to Anglophones, yet you will be considered fluent. Yet again, feel free to speak incorrect English. Doesn't matter. Okay. Moving ahead, native speakers. Do they always speak grammatically correct English? Now let's break some of the myths. Now, those of you who feel that native English speakers speak perfect English, let's see what kind of English they speak. I'll point out some mistakes. Some mistakes, many mistakes, a multitude of mistakes. And the mistakes that I'll demonstrate, I'll show you, will be just a few of the many mistakes they make. Don't worry, they also speak English not too well, pathetically. Some of them speak pathetic English, right? Native English speakers don't mind speaking in pathetic English. Why should you mind speaking in pathetic English? Come on, give me a break. All right. Do you think native speakers supposed to be fluent in English speak grammatically correct English? After you see the examples that will follow, I'm sure your answer would be a big no. Let's see what kind of English native speakers speak. Native speakers make mistakes. Yes, they do so often. Many native speakers are my friends, and I have spotted them making gross grammatical mistakes. Though I don't point them out, I can't help but notice them. I have so many native English-speaking friends. Many of them from America, some from Great Britain, some from Australia. And there are some new friends from New Zealand as well. They're native English speakers. And there are many expert English speakers from other countries who are non-native speakers, but great English speakers nonetheless. All these people make mistakes, especially the native speakers. Want to know what kind of mistakes? Let's see. Verb tense and pronoun, mistakes relating to verb tense and pronoun. Examples. Here are some of the most glaring grammatical errors some native speakers make. Use of incorrect verb tense. I walk to work, when the expression I walked to work is contextually correct. You ask somebody, how did you go to the office today? I walked to work. Arey, come on, dear. You didn't walk to work. You walked to work. I walked to work is what they should have said, but they didn't say it. Use of wrong pronoun. Me and my friend went to the store instead of my friend and I went to the store. Always you have to place the other person first, and you are not me here. The objectival form is not to be used here. The subjective form is to be used. The first person form. My friend and I went to the store, not me and my friend went to the store. That's incorrect, rubbish. But they say it all the time. Who? The native speakers do. So you too can, my dear friend. Comparative degree mistakes. Incorrect use of comparative degrees. She is taller than me. Arey, no, dear, she is not taller than me. You must say, the correct form would be, she is taller than I. He is better than I. Sita and Geeta are two friends. Sita is taller than she. Geeta has a friend called Sita, and Sita is taller than she. Not taller than her, not taller than him, not better than him, not better than her. Better than he, better than they, better than I, better than she. That is how comparative degrees are to be used. Do the native speakers use the comparative degree that way? Sorry, they don't. Incorrect English. Moving on. Use of double negatives. Americans do it very often. I don't have nothing. I don't have nothing. What do you mean I don't have nothing? You should be saying, I don't have anything, right? I don't have nothing instead of I don't have anything. Doesn't make sense really, but they do it all. They speak such sentences all the time. Prepositional mistakes. I'm going to the home instead of I'm going home. You don't have to say I'm going to the home, for goodness sake. I'm going home will do. Who make these mistakes? Native English speakers. Mistakes with articles. Misuse of articles like, I'm going to doctor. Arey, darling, you are not going to doctor. You are going to the doctor, right? Who makes these mistakes? Native speakers. Moving on. Incomplete sentences. Leaving out words from a sentence such as, he not coming today. Where is Peter? He not coming today. Dear, don't say he not coming today. Say he is not coming today. Who makes these mistakes? You know. Split infinitives. If you don't understand what are infinitives or split infinitives, doesn't make a difference. Just see the example and you will know. Okay? Making mistakes with split infinitives. This is when someone would say, I'm going to quickly run. Arey, you are not going to quickly run. You are going to run quickly, yes. I'm going to quickly run is incorrect. I'm going to run quickly is correct. But who says I'm going to quickly run? You know the answer. Confusing words. Confusing words that sound alike. For example, saying, I used to walk to work, instead of saying, I used to walk to work. I used to walk to work makes no sense. I used to walk to work. I have heard native English speakers, some of them also writers, speaking such ghastly English. So my dear friends, if they can make such mistakes, why can't you? Moving on. Making up words. Some people actually make words, new words, they invent words. Natives would often say, I ain't got no money. What do you mean I ain't got no money? Say, I don't have any money. Instead of saying, I don't have any money, you say, I ain't got no money. What does that mean? Americans, my dear, I ain't got no money. What does that mean? I ain't got that. I ain't got no money. What is that? What does that sentence mean? Who's speaking these sentences? Native English speakers. By the way, your Hindi or Tamil or Marathi or Bangla or Punjabi are also, well, you know what I want to say. Okay. Auxiliary verbs. Okay. Wrong use of auxiliary verbs. For example, he don't know anything. Arey, my goodness. What do you mean he don't know anything? You should say he doesn't know anything. He don't know anything. She don't know anything. She doesn't know anything. He doesn't know anything are the correct forms. Oh, who are speaking these sentences? You know very well. Okay. Mistakes, unnecessary words. I am very unique. Very is unimportant. Just say I am unique. That'll do. What do you mean I am very unique? I am unique. Your being unique means that you are different from everybody. You don't have to say, I am very unique. No. Subjunctive mood. If you don't understand what is subjunctive mood, forget it. You don't have to know. So if I was a millionaire is incorrect. You should say, if I were a millionaire. What did I say? If Seema were born in early 20th century, and if I was also, if I were a person too in the early 20th century, I didn't say if Seema was born in early 20th century, or if I was a person. That's incorrect English. Mistakes that native English speakers make all the time. Use of slang words. What kind of slang words? So somebody might say, that's hella tight. What the hell is that's hella tight? Say that's, or something like, you can say something like, that's cool. What do you mean? That's hella tight. Or you could say, that's good. What is, that's hella tight? What is hella tight, dear? What is this hella tight? Have you tightened the hell? Have you kind of put ropes, put a knot around hell and tightened it, tightened the noose? What are you trying to tell me? That's hella tight. Come on, my dear. That's how English is spoken in many places by many native speakers. Don't laugh at them. Your Hindi, your Marathi, your Bangla, your Punjabi, your Malayalam, your Tamil. You think you speak those languages correctly? But you don't worry, right? You don't worry because ghar ki murgi dal barabar. Don't worry if you are from a different part of the world, not from India, and you are watching these videos. I just used a Hindi idiom in jest, right? So one doesn't mind. The idea is one doesn't mind speaking one's first language incorrectly. But one is too conscious of making mistakes in English. That shouldn't be the case. Okay. Bad sentences. I am going to meet with my friend. No, I am going to meet my friend is enough. I am going to meet with my friend, not required. I'm going to meet my friend. That's enough. Moving on. Glaring tense mistakes. I done it. Huh? I done it? I did it. Say I did it. What do you mean? I done it. I done it? You mean you did it, right? What to do? Messing with verbs. There are messing with verbs and use of superfluous expressions, unnecessary expressions. I seen it with my own two eyes, darling. I saw it with my own eyes will do. You don't have to say I seen it. First of all, you seen it is incorrect. You saw it. I saw it with my own eyes, not required. I saw it with my eyes will also do, right? Own eyes is also not required here. I saw it with my eyes. So you don't have to say, I seen it with my own two eyes. You just say, I saw it with eyes. I saw it with my own eyes. Even that's whatever. Okay. Filler words. I was just wondering if maybe you could help me. What kind of English is that? Instead, you should say, I wondered if you could help me. Right? Moving on. I'm gonna do it. What do you mean you're gonna do it? There is no word such as gonna in English. You want to say, I'm going to do it, right? Say I'm going to do it. Why are you saying, I am gonna do it? I wanna eat it. What do you mean you wanna eat it? You want to eat it, right? Go ahead, eat it. Why are you saying you wanna eat it? Come on, dear. No. So there are some mistakes have been made so often that they are nowadays considered to be correct. For example, who are you talking to is now considered as a correct sentence. But the more classical version of it, the more classical correct version of it would be, whom are you talking to? Whom are you talking to? So endless list of mistakes. You believe it now, don't you? Well, the list can go on. Surely you have got the point by now. Native speakers make a lot of mistakes when speaking English, yet they are fluent in the language. It is just a matter of how well they can communicate despite their mistakes. Non-natives often get bogged down by the mistakes they make. They become so conscious of them that it affects their fluency in the language. Don't be conscious of the mistakes. That's the simple rule. Native speakers don't care. You too must not. The reason why natives don't care about their mistakes is that they are used to speaking the language. They have been speaking it since they were kids. It is a part of them. So they can communicate effectively despite their errors. Non-natives need to do the same. Don't worry. Don't worry what you are saying. Just say it. Just say it. Speak in incorrect English. Doesn't matter. But say it. Communicate. English language is a part of you. Well, you might be a non-native English speaker, but you are a native speaker of your first language, aren't you? Can you claim to be speaking your first language perfectly? Of course not. Just as native speakers make tons of mistakes while speaking English, you make tons of errors while communicating in your first language. And just the way native speakers don't feel bad about making errors while speaking English, you don't feel bad about making errors while speaking your first language. Why doesn't a speaker mind making mistakes while speaking the first language? As explained before, that's because the language is a part of the speaker. While communicating in one's first language, one does not attach a sense of prestige or status to the spoken abilities in that language. Again in Hindi, ghar ki murgi dal barabar. For goodness sake, do not translate this idiom and tell a Britisher, hey, maybe you don't respect your language because, you know, the hen at your home is equivalent to a pulse grain, to a grain. He would be confused. Sorry, a grain pulses? Hen, home? What are you talking about? So, the syntax of Hindi does not match with the syntax of English. Do not translate blindly. Let the language flow. Stop being conscious. You might have guessed the import of my words. Like the native English speakers, you must not attach a sense of stature or prestige to the spoken abilities in English. Let the language flow even if it is full of errors. Stop being conscious while speaking English the way you aren't mindful when speaking your first language. It is a great way to get better at speaking English. Just the way you don't care how you speak your native tongue, do not care how you speak English. Speak, 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 and speak. Hear this again and never forget it. What? Allow me to repeat this to let the truth get imprinted in your minds. Native English speakers don't care about making mistakes while speaking English because they are used to the language. You must also get used to English if you want to be fluent. Let go of your inhibitions and communicate. After all, communication is more important than. Somebody say, communication is more important than what? Say it. Unmute
The
yourself.
language itself.
Grammar.
Communication is more important than grammar. Yes, yes. Well, if you say the language itself, I'll take that, dear. No problem. Okay, biggest takeaway is what? Communicate in English with as many as possible. That brings us to the end of the presentation. Phew! Long one, wasn't it? And I was braving this challenge of finishing this mountainous of a presentation in such short time. Without further ado, the first spontaneous speech for today will be from Pallavi. Pallavi, get ready. Pallavi, get ready. I'm timing you. Okay. Right. Pallavi, Your topic is
Yes, sir.
oxygen. Oxygen. Go ahead.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Good evening, sir. So, the topic for my spontaneous speech is oxygen. Okay, as we know, the chemical formula of oxygen is O2, and it is, and as we know, that oxygen is very important for us, for our life, because we all know that we take oxygen and we inhale oxygen, and that's because of which our life is. So, oxygen is very important, and oxygen, what nothing striking me. Yes, oxygen is plants. We get we know that when plants emit carbon dioxide, nothing is striking me. Yes, oxygen is like our life. Our life is because of oxygen. We are like taking oxygen, because of which we are alive. So oxygen is our uh, life maker. And also we see that in many things we see that there are many things that, like, we are see that it makes of oxygen. And we is breathing. So breathing, yeah, what everyone know that breathing is really important. Breathing is like breathing is a thing that that's nothing like that related to our meditation. Like the most meditation is breathing, because we just because breathing is something is so going into them. So this is the thing that us and that connect us with life. Uh, so breathing. So as breathing is related to meditation. So how meditation is important. Meditation just involves us in good life, because if we want peace in our life, more relaxation in our life, so we just need to meditate. So one of the most important thing of meditation is breathing, and this breathing is related to oxygen. So what more to say? Like nothing is striking me. Nothing is striking me. Striking me. Striking me. As I have said earlier, oxygen. I say oxygen we take is our part of life. So like life, like for our life, not only oxygen is important. Our family, our relatives are also like this. Oxygen is important for our life. Like that also, our relatives, our families are also like oxygen in our life. They are also very important for our life. Like without oxygen, like we can't live. So like that oxygen, our family, our loved ones uh, are also like oxygen, are also like oxygen for us. So we can relate our family, we can make our family, our friends as oxygen. So because without them our life is like nothing. So as without oxygen our life will be like we will be dead. So that's what I want to say, that that families, like they are to think about them, to live with them, uh, to make them happy. It makes you happy, and it makes you like make your life better. It makes you like it nothing is right. So family is like our uh, family is like everything. It is related to. So I have just connected it like how oxygen is important. So family friends are just like that. Nothing striking me, nothing striking me, striking me. What? Nothing striking me, nothing striking me, nothing striking me. Nothing striking me, nothing striking me, nothing striking me. As I have said earlier that oxygen, where we get oxygen from. So I have said that there is so much that there is so much that there's so much help of plants in it. So plants are really very important for us. So according to me, if we want to make our life like if you want to live, we have to make plants alive also. So we should try. So we should try that trees that around us, they will be we should not cut the trees. We should plant more trees because of them we are getting it. We are alive. So we should also focus on how we can how
Okay,
what
okay,
we can
okay.
do
That
for
should
that.
do. That should do. That should do. Please unmute yourselves and give her a huge round of applause. Don't be stingy. Don't be stingy. Give her a huge round of applause. Good, 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 good. Okay, okay. Right.
Sorry,
Good.
sir. Sorry, sir. I
Good.
think
Pallavi, you did a good job.
I
Just
was
that we had some difficulties with your net connection, probably because you're
okay.
moving
Okay.
and that caused some issues with the
Yeah, yeah.
net. Otherwise,
Because
otherwise, what you did was is rather creditable. Very well done. Okay. All right. Moving on. Okay. The next person who would be doing the spontaneous today is Nitesh. Nitesh, are you ready to go?
Yes, sir.
All right, Nitesh. Nitesh. Well, don't worry. I'll not talk about Martians living in by our side. Okay. That's living with us. I'll not give you that kind of a topic. Okay.
You can give me, sir. I
Okay.
can speak.
How sweet of you. That's called confidence. Okay. Your topic is, my dear friend, civic sense. Civic sense. Start.
Well, civic sense. Uh, yeah, it's very much necessary if you are living in the society. Having a civic sense, having that how we behave with people, how we live in this society is very important. And another thing is that civic sense is kind of related to, I don't know the exact meaning, but it's kind of related to how morally you live, in how you interact with people, what kind of behavior you you uh, you show in the society. And other thing is that is having a sense about how the society, how we can uh, 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 communicate with people, and how we can interact with people. Uh, Another thing is that in different societies, for example, in India, for example, in other countries, and there can be a different kind of societies, and there can be different kind of social values attached to it. So, so the thing that in different kind of we have to actually adapt ourselves to the kind of society there is in different part of the world. Actually, something that is can be called wrong to do in one society can be perfectly fine in another. So yeah, so we have to actually observe the kind of society, and that's what the subject. There's actually a subject that is called sociology. Teaches us. In sociology, it teaches us about what kind of society, how society behaves in certain conditions, what kinds of societies are there around the world, and how the transformation of societies takes place. From the ancient times, we see that how from being barbarous, from being an early man, we transformed into a civilized society. How civilization changes in due course of time. So the change in civilization, the development through interaction with other societies. One society gains something, gains some new ideas, gains some new kind of uh, new kinds of uh, uh, behavior, new kinds of social social things, social reach. I'm unable to find the word exact word, but the different kinds, the social societies interact, they intermingle, and they kind of create a new kind of social thing. So yes, and in this way, our society gets transformed. In future, it will transform more when as we can see in today's world, the India that was before the globalization was much different than it is today. In today's India, we see the difference because we are getting lots of inflow of ideas, inflow of cultural influence, and other kind of things from movies, be it from social media. The kind of impact we are seeing in India today is great, and many people are really worried about it because the impact of Western social influence is very high in India, and people are adopting the things from Western culture that may not be appropriate from the Indian context, and in such a way, so in this rapid transforming age, it's really difficult to kind of control, kind of reduce the impact that we are facing from the outside world. So but what we can do is that we can do something to preserve the culture, the best things that our culture have, our civilization have. We can uh, bring about some changes in our educational system, bring about some types of we can create changes in our pop culture so that it influences people in India to think about, to respect the great civilization we have. Actually, if we see that ours is the only surviving civilization in the last 10,000 years. Most of the civilizations are dead now. Our civilization is the only civilization that is continuing still now. So it is really a really big thing to be proud of, actually. So if we see that our civilization, how being influenced by different types of foreign invasions, influences, still we have some core values that we haven't let off. We have the one of the greatest storage of literature that we have now from our ancient times. Even there are many manuscripts out there that are still not yet been printed. So we have source of knowledge, we have everything, and that is kind of thing that our society have. And being a being in a society is to be uh, preserve your own social values and actually be adapt. Hello, sir.
Okay, okay,
Yes,
my
sir.
dear. Okay, my dear, you have done
Thank you,
a
sir.
wonderful job.
Thank you,
Please
sir.
give him a huge round of applause.
Thank you, everyone.
My
Thank you.
team member writes, impressive performance, Nitesh. Your thoughts are so deep, like an ocean. Okay, so that's a
Thank you
compliment,
so
right?
much. Thank you so much.
All right. So today, what have you learned? You have learned that you have to speak. Doesn't matter what is your level of English. There is nothing such as correct English or incorrect English. Yes, you could say there is something such as acceptable English and unacceptable English, but unacceptable English also becomes acceptable. In fact, it is better to speak incorrect English with confidence rather than speaking correct English with lack of confidence. Please speak. You do not speak your, please, all are praising Pallavi and Nitesh, right? Sneha has done this, okay? So, and there are others who are saying it's commendable performance. In fact, it's my duty to read the appreciation of your friends. My team member says, impressive performance, Nitesh. Your thoughts are so deep, like an ocean. And then Sneha writes, commendable performance. And Seema writes, well done, Nitesh. Okay, so great job, great job. Right, so altogether, it's been a very wonderful set of speeches. Manisha writes, you both were amazing today. Great. Sanjay writes, well done. Okay, so very good to hear that. Very good to see that you are appreciating one another. Now remember, with the power of spontaneous speech, shadowing, coterie talk, hats off to both of you, writes Lekha. Okay, I'm reading everybody's message. So with these three tools at your disposal, complemented by essential grammar that will follow subsequently, you will be unstoppable. You have heard me. You will be unstoppable. Will you speak grammatically great English? Pallavi writes, it was very nice, Nitesh. Right? Okay. So, will you be speaking grammatically correct English? Well, yes, maybe no. But yes, there will be an acceptable degree of grammar in that. Acceptable degree of grammar. You might not be speaking absolutely pristine grammar. Well done, Pallavi, writes Sneha to everybody. Pallavi, you also did a great job, writes Seema. Okay, so the thing is, what is important is that you speak well with a reasonable degree of clarity. What you say is understandable. You say it with confidence. Doesn't matter, even if it is framed incorrectly. Doesn't matter. You have seen what kind of mistakes native speakers of English do, right? They are if you allow me to use a Hindustani equivalent in English, they're breaking the tongues, the legs of English, just the way you break the tongues of your first language. Doesn't matter. You're free to break the tongues. By the way, tongue means leg, right? So speak. Please understand, incorrect English will slowly but steadily lead you to correct English. Or more technically, putting it more technically, unacceptable English or speaking unacceptable English or speaking unacceptable forms of English will lead you to speaking acceptable forms of English. With that said, I bid adieu. Please pass on a word to each one of your fellow learners. Many of you leave the class in between. That is considered as I would consider it as uncouth. Any teacher would do. Those who join should continue, and those who made a commitment to me and made a commitment to themselves that they would be with me for the next 6 months should stand up to that commitment, must meet that commitment. Please tell your friends not to miss classes and not to miss practice. With that said, thank you very much. Good night and take good care of yourselves. Tomorrow we meet at 8 p.m. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, sir, and good night,
Good
everyone.
night,
Good night,
sir.
sir.
Good night, sir.
Good night,
night.
sir.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night. Take care.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, sir. Good night, sir.
Good night.